making sure you realize that you are traveling. It's going to be a little more difficult to stay on your nutrition path, but the fact that you are traveling and you're making conscious, good decisions, or you are eating some of this at some point during the traveling, it is okay, right? It's moderation. You're doing it because you're traveling. You might not, or you will not do it when you get back, and then you can continue with your your overall wellness routine. So,
Transmission received. Authorization granted. Welcome to the video.
what's up, dreamers? I hope everybody's having a fantastic day, or had a fantastic day, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to Driving and Vibing. Today, I want to talk about staying healthy while traveling. I know a lot of people travel, especially through the holidays. I just got done a cross-country trip, helped my brother move his cars from the West Coast to the East Coast, drove all the way across the country. It was fantastic. And that's what sparked my interest in this conversation. We travel a lot. My wife travels a lot for work, so we travel a lot. We go to different places. We like to, go explore, right? Sometimes keeping on track with health and wellness is tough when you are traveling, right? So I want to talk a little bit about that. Some things that you can do, maybe how to, some things to look out for in regards to nutrition and everything. So let's start out with the nutrition, right? When you're driving, when you're traveling, when you're on big highways and there's, basically rest stops and gas station, a lot of times there's fast food, and which is in moderation. If you generally eat healthy all the time and you're traveling and you get stuck in a position where you really need to eat and you're coming up on only fast foods, that's okay, right? So long as you realize you're not doing it all the time, it's not really worth getting upset about. It's not worth having it hound your mental, right? And so eating it in moderation, eating it sometimes is okay, because then generally you wouldn't eat it most times, right? If that's the kind of stuff, or if that's kind of how you play it out. But when you go into gas stations at rest stops, so when we were traveling, I was a little worried. The nutrition I was a little worried about, but I knew I was going to be able to figure it out on the go. I have a little more experience with that, but when you're doing all of this, generally, it's kind of, comparing and accepting, I would say. I haven't eaten a fast food restaurant like McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, any of those, Taco Bell, whatever it is. I haven't eaten any fast food since 2016, so I wasn't going to start that trend again. But I do know that gas stations generally have sandwiches. Some sandwiches, you can kind of look and see. Some sandwiches are made better than others. I mean, there's always kind of quality sandwiches, I feel like, inside of these. And if you think about it, that's where looking around is, and then comparing. If you think about, so what I got was, most of the trip I got these lunch meat sandwiches. It was turkey or it was ham, had some cheddar. Generally, they didn't really have any sauce on them. I'm okay with eating a sandwich without sauce, honestly, so I just kind of ignore that part. And they had these lunch meat sandwiches, so that's what I would pick. I've eaten Subway for the first time in many, many, many years, and so I got to make my own sandwich there and put on the meats that I wanted to, and that turned out better than I expected. The last time I had Subway wasn't the best experience, I would say. But if you compare it to McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King, and how it kind of would make you feel, for me personally, eating those sandwiches, I know I'm going to feel a little better overall. I also know that it is not as processed, nearly as processed as these fast food restaurants. So I'm okay with eating lunch meat sandwiches from these gas stations. And along the route that we took, the gas stations were kind of like convenience stores as well. So I knew that even on top of that, there were gas stations, but they were also kind of, freshly made. They were all dated. So I make sure I pick the freshest one that was there. That's another thing, is looking out on dates. There's a couple of times where I've gotten sandwiches before and didn't even look at the date. I just did it so fast. Or I picked something up, I would grab it so fast, even from grocery stores. Sometimes, we're all human, mistakes are made, that's okay. Sometimes I grab stuff that's expired, and it is what it is. When you're traveling, you want to kind of make sure that you're looking at dates as well, make sure it's not expired, because that could cause probably some issues with your stomach. But with that too, so you kind of just have to weigh your options. I know my stomach wouldn't have been able to handle fast food just because it's been so long that I've eaten it, so I didn't even risk that. I was also mentally prepared to fast for longer during this trip. I knew I wasn't going to have to do, like 48-hour fasts and stuff, but that's kind of the mental space I was in. Fasting is also okay, so I'd fast for the first, through up until maybe the second stop. I'd make sure that I've kind of fasted through the second stop. And if I kind of knew that the second stop wasn't going to come up for a long time and I was getting a little hungrier, I would see what I could get that food, like at the first stop, because I think we averaged 4 stops per day on our drive. And this is just driving I'm talking about. And then I would just have it ready for when I was hungry, right? So you could always get something and kind of prepare yourself. So being prepared, getting snacks to be prepared is also good. That way, if you run into the position where you are overly hungry, you're not kind of grabbing out of pure hunger. You're more kind of consciously thinking about it. So, overall, while traveling, consciously thinking about what you're eating and what you're about to eat will significantly improve the, I would say, the outcome of what you're eating and how you feel about the food. And also you have to put in that you have to make sure you're in the mindset of, I know I'm traveling, I know, I only get select food while at these rest stops or gas stations, or if you're traveling on a plane, get select foods at the airport. But as long as you're conscious about it and you make a conscious decision, it will kind of make itself a little easier, and you'll be able to kind of pick something that is overall healthier for you and something you will enjoy more, as opposed to something you are picking specifically because you're very hungry. We'll talk about airplanes and we'll talk about other stuff too, but not airplanes in general, but the airports and when you're stopping. One of the things I can say is, and this will go along with nutrition facts, I'll make a video about nutrition facts as well, but nutrition facts are just a very quick overview of nutrition facts. The more ingredients you see on, sorry, I'm like trying to park here. The more ingredients you see on a label, generally speaking, this is a very, very generalized statement, the more ingredients you see on a label, the more processed it most likely is. So if you go to let's say you go to you're in an airport and you see all these foods, let's say you're looking for nuts, because nuts are good, healthy fats. If you look for a bag of nuts and it has 8 or 9 different ingredients in it, those nuts are more processed than the unroasted, unsalted, or even just the salted and roasted nuts that would just say salted peanuts on them. We'll just go with peanuts. So the salted peanuts would be less processed than a peanut that has 7 or 8 different ingredients listed on the ingredient list. So that's just one thing to look out for, especially if you're kind of in the conscious mind state that you will be picking up food, or you are looking for less processed food, especially through an airport and a gas station. Try to go with the most pure ingredients and the packages with the lesser amount of ingredients, right? So these parking spots are very slim now that you guys are here driving with me, so I don't even know if I feel comfortable driving my tank in one of these. So there's just a little bit of an overview. You have to make sure that you're mentally in the mind state of, especially if you've already started your journey, you got to make sure you're in the mindset that it is, it's okay It's okay to go out of your eating habits while traveling because it's almost impossible not to, right? And you just have to be conscious of what you're eating. You kind of have to just make sure that you are picking the most unprocessed as possible and stuff that you know will sit well with you and isn't going to give you those energy spikes and then the energy crashes. And if you really think about it, you probably already know some of the foods that will do that to you. So keeping all of that in mind is pretty important for traveling. And again, I will say this again because I think this is ultra valuable. Making sure you realize that you are traveling, it's going to be a little more difficult to stay on your nutrition path, but the fact that you are traveling and you're making conscious, good decisions, or you are eating some of this at some point during the traveling, it is okay, right? It's moderation. You're doing it because you're traveling. You might not, or you will not do it when you get back, and then you can continue with your your overall wellness routine. So if anybody has any travel tips that they would like to add, I would love to hear them. Maybe I can utilize them in my journey, or you can just share them with other viewers. If you like the content that you saw, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, really helps out the channel. And I hope to see everybody in the next video. Later, dreamers.